One student has been killed and 4 others injured after a car crashed through the fence of a primary school in Australia. The deceased was aged 11 years. According to the police, the driver, a 40-year-old woman, was arrested at the scene and is in custody.
What I can tell you at this point in time is that a 40-year-old female has driven to the school to collect a child. After collecting the child, she's performed a U-turn and collided into the fence of the school, crashing through the fence, where unfortunately she has struck a table where there were 5 children seated within the school grounds. Very tragically and sadly, one of those children has passed away whilst being conveyed to hospital. The other 4 children have been conveyed to hospital undergoing treatment for their injuries also. It's a tragic circumstance. It's really tough for everybody involved, from the community, the school community, the locals, the first responders, AMBOs, police. It's really tough. These events are always hard where there's death and serious injury, but especially difficult when there's children involved.
The U.S. election campaign has ended its final week in the race on a knife edge with 7 days to go until Americans choose who next occupies the White House. Polling in swing states remains extremely close. U.S. Democratic presidential nominee Vice President Kamala Harris' campaign continued at a rally in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Addressing the crowd, Ms. Harris said the consequences of Donald Trump returning to the presidency would be brutally serious, adding that so much is on the line. In this election, she appeared with her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win? Yes. And we will win. And we will win. And we need you to vote early, Michigan, because we have just 8 days to go. 8 days left in one of the most consequential elections of our lifetime. And as everybody here knows, this is going to be a tight race until the very end. So we have a lot of work ahead of us. But we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is joyful work. And make no mistake, we will win. We will win. And listen, hey, on the subject of Gaza, hey guys, I hear you. On the subject of Gaza, we all want this war to end as soon as possible and get the hostages out, and I will do everything in my power to make it so. And let's be clear, we are all here because we are fighting for a democracy and for the right of people to be heard and seen. We're not about the enemy within. We know we are all in this together. That's what we are fighting for. And listen, you all have heard me say, I do believe Donald Trump to be an unserious man. But the consequences of him ever being president again are brutally serious. Brutally serious. Consider, on the topic we were just discussing, Donald Trump still refuses to acknowledge the pain and suffering he has caused. He insists that, quote, everyone wanted for Roe v. Wade to be overturned. And this time, there will be no one there to stop him. Not even the Supreme Court, which months ago told the former president that he is essentially immune no matter what he would do in the White House.
Meanwhile, Republican Donald Trump touted a role for Elon Musk in his administration if he wins the presidency, as he rallied supporters in Atlanta, Georgia. Millions of Americans have already cast their vote before the November 5th election, which national polls show is a close race between Mr. Trump and his Democratic rival, Kamala Harris. In Georgia, where in-person early voting ahead of Election Day is expected to total up to 70% of ballots, Mr. Trump lambasted Kamala Harris and vowed to bring back the American dream.
Next Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've had a terrible, terrible run, that you've hurt our country very badly. You've let murderers into our country and drug dealers. You've let human traffickers in. You've let terrorists into our country. You've accepted people from mental institutions and from jails. You've accepted some of the worst criminals in the world into our country. You're going to say, please say it, sir. I say, I will. Kamala, you're fired. Get out of here. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. You know, they used to say that with Hitler, and I'd always go, relax, take it easy. We're going to win. We're going to win, Brandon. We're going to win. Just please relax. They would do it. Every time I'd mention her name, they'd scream, lock her up, lock her up. And then the fake news. That's a lot of fake news. Look at that. That's a lot. That's a lot, Bruce, isn't it, huh? It's a lot of fakers back there. But no, you know that's true. I'd say, easy, we're going to win, we're going to win. Then we won. And then they really win when they said, lock her up, lock her up, lock her up. They scream, I'd say, easy, easy, we won. We're going to have unity. I could have locked her up, but I didn't want to lock her up. She's the wife of the President of the United States previously, and she was Secretary of State. I said, that would be so terrible for our country. And then they try and do it to me.
Well, with just 1 week until the U.S. election, voters' emotions are starting to intensify. In the key swing state of Arizona, university students attended a Get Out the Vote event for Harris Walther, while early voting continues in another critical state, North Carolina. Miss Harris and Mr. Trump are neck and neck in the polls of the battleground states that will determine the winner of the U.S. presidential election. Both candidates are working hard to win over the remaining sliver of undecided and independent voters in those states, while turning out their respective base supporters to vote early or show up at the ballot stations on November 5.
With 1 week to go for the election, I definitely feel anxious, you know? I mean, definitely for the first time in my life, I mean, I'm 19, I feel hopeful at least about the election. You know, with the candidate, Kamala Harris, I do feel like there is actually hope for what's gonna happen. And at the same time, I have just so much anxiety, especially with recent events, the crazy rallies that have been going on. It just feels like it could go either way, and that's obviously scary.
With about like a week to go, because I think we're like 8 days away, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. Like the anticipation is definitely starting to hit, but I'm excited though too. This is my first time voting in a presidential election.
Yeah, this election is very monumental. The possibility that he might win concerns me greatly. He is not a fit leader for our state, for our country. As we've seen from his first presidential term, things did not end up well. He continues to say things that are incorrect. So it really worries me, but I do have hope that Kamala Harris is going to win and that there will be a more prominent Democrat turnout.
Again, I expect it's going to be close, and I expect a lot of women are going to come out to vote. Me personally, I'm voting because I have 2 daughters, and they're going to vote, and I'm voting on their behalf for their future.
My hope is like everything change. I want to USA good for our kids, my kids, and
elsewhere now, thousands of people protested outside Georgia's parliament after the governing party won an election marred by reports of voting irregularities, which Western powers said must be investigated. Some protesters carried anti-Russia banners after a parliamentary election they had cast as choice between the Georgian Dream Party, which has deepened ties with Russia, and an opposition seeking to fast-track integration with Europe. The word stolen was projected onto the front of Soviet-era parliament building in Tbilisi, the Caucasus country's capital, but there were no signs of clashes as police looked on. The Election Commission said Georgian Dream, which came to power in 2012, won nearly 54% of the vote in Saturday's election. The four main opposition parties that won seats in parliament said they did not recognize the results and that they would boycott the chamber. President Salome Zurabichvili had urged the people to take to the streets after the results were announced. Meanwhile, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban says the election in Georgia won by a ruling party was free and democratic as he congratulated his Georgian counterpart Irakli Kobakidze during a visit to Tbilisi. According to the Prime Minister, the Georgian people made a pro-European choice and both the opposition and the governing party are committed to European Union integration. The ruling Georgian Dream Party and the Electoral Commission say the vote was free and fair, while East-Western powers have called for investigations. Pro-Western Georgians had cast the vote as a choice between a ruling party that has deepened ties with Russia and an opposition aiming to fast-track Europe integration. At least 40 soldiers have been killed in Chad after a brutal attack on the country's military base. The presidency says this happened on Sunday evening, and President Mohamed Deby has ordered a counter-mission to track down the culprits. The attack reportedly happened on an island called Bakaram in a vast marshy region that was once covered by waters of Lake Chad before its dramatic shrinking in recent decades. No suspects for Sunday's attack are named in the presidency's statement, but the area is close to the border zones of Nigeria and Niger Republic, where Islamist militants are known to operate. 17 young Nigerian girls have been rescued by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission after they were trafficked to Ghana. They have returned to the country where 5 traffickers have been arrested. This latest rescue operation brought to 130 girls repatriated to Nigeria from Ghana alone since July 2024. According to a statement from NIDCOM, this was sequel to the combined and coordinated efforts of the Ghanaian Anti-Human Trafficking Police, Nigerians in Diaspora Organization, Ghana, and the Nigerian High Commission in Accra. Chairman CEO of NIDCOM, Mrs. Abike Dabiri-Rewa, commending the rescue operations and the agency's involvement and those involved, says the Commission is committed to protecting Nigerians in the diaspora. 2 young men were also repatriated, including one who was previously detained in a Ghanaian prison. The High Commissioner of Nigeria to South Africa, Temitope Ajayi, has highlighted the significant contributions of the Nigerian community to South Africa's economy. He emphasized that Nigeria possesses the continent's best human capital resources, positioning the nation as a formidable force. Mr. Ajayi made these remarks at the inaugural launch and gala dinner of the Igbo Lawyers Association of South Africa in Johannesburg. Our South Africa correspondent, Innocent Samosa, reports.
The event, themed Faith of Resilience, brought together Igbo lawyers in South Africa to reflect on their contributions. Ugo Anyam serves as the chairperson of the Igbo Lawyers Association of South Africa.
In response to the teething career challenges faced by our founders, however, we have since evolved, positioning ourselves not merely as a professional organization, but as a proponent of a truly federated system.
In his keynote address, the High Commissioner of Nigeria to South Africa, Temitope Ajayi, hailed the community.
If there is any country in Africa that have seen a critical mass of Nigerian professionals that are doing well in different endeavors, South Africa is one. Because here is a country where whether you mention the medical field, you find Nigerian there. Whether you mention the legal field, you find Nigerians there.
But how is this formation of the Igbo Lawyers Association impact the local Igbo community?
Well, the whole idea of putting up a gathering like this is to celebrate a milestone of sorts. We have come a long way. A lot of us, if you listen to my speech earlier, a lot of us arrived here, either with one degree or the other, but the need arose, to be self-employed in a lot of ways. And most of us, at the time, took the time to go back to school,
Yeah, I think it's important to have this type of things so that people would know that we exist, Like the High Commissioner was telling me that he wants to meet with me in his office so that we can discuss on bringing people like me together more often.
The High Commissioner of Nigeria to South Africa, Timitope Ajayi, urged the leadership to expand the scope of the organization and consider renaming it the Nigerian Lawyers Association of South Africa. Now, in response, the chairperson of the association stated that they would take this suggestion into consideration. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samos, Channels Television News.
Environmentalists are planting trees in Libya's forests to help battle drought the country is facing. In Com City, volunteers say the planting is also for children and future generations.
Amid escalating environmental challenges, a Libyan environmental group has launched an ambitious tree planting campaign in the Al Nigazar forest, located 100 kilometers east of Tripoli. The initiative, which marks the 5th attempt to restore the area's natural balance, comes as Libya's forests face severe threat from climate change, with droughts and deforestation rapidly diminishing the nation's green cover. Taha Ali Abdullah is a local volunteer participating in the reforestation campaign.
Due to climate change and global warming, which the world is facing and that has also affected Libya, we are today in the Coms area, specifically in Al Nigazir. This area has experienced drought and the trees have dried up. We are trying as much as possible to compensate through reforestation, and we have already planted trees in this area. This campaign is perhaps the 5th or 6th one. It's the 5th, and we are trying to change the environment and climate as much as possible. If each person starts with their area or region, with what they can do, we will reach better results, God willing.
Every year, climate activists devote time to planting some trees in the hope of preserving and restoring the green cover.
Trees represent growth and life. They give us oxygen, they give us nature, they protect us from the current global warming, states another campaign participant. The initiative encourages residents to take action in their local areas, promoting a grassroots approach to environmental conservation.
Families and school children also participate in these campaigns, digging holes and planting seedlings. But their biggest challenge remains the availability of water.
Well, now the fourth edition of the Forever is Now art exhibition has kicked off at the Giza Pyramid's scenic site. Various contemporary art installations are on display, placed around the 4,500-year-old UNESCO World Heritage Site. 12 international artists have nestled their works at the foot of the pyramids this year, with various artworks showcasing elements of Egyptian culture and history. According to the organizers, over 500,000 people visited the very first edition of the exhibition. This year, the exhibition is set to run from October 24 to November 16.
I would like to put an installation between the virtual and the reality, So when you see through the squares, you can understand how you look in a new point of view, in a new vision, the pyramids. This installation is about geometry in the space and also perception of colors. Geometry because I put 3 squares in front of the 3 pyramids. So the blue, the red and the green are the primary colors in the virtual reality.
I bring 2 tons of Nile clay and I'm modeling this boat in the clay of the Nile here on the site, directly on the site. For me, it's like a dream. When I was a kid, I want to be an archaeologist and an Egyptologist, and I want to be an archaeologist, and I started modeling and do sculpture inspired by Egypt sculpture. For me, the Egypt sculpture is the roots of my works.
And finally, on the program, travelers flying out of Thailand will soon be able to chuck their passports in their bags as they clear immigration, as the nation will be implementing facial recognition at 6 of its airports. The biometric identification system will be rolled out on November 1st for domestic passengers and on December 1st for international departures. That's according to the Airport Authority of Thailand Director Kirati Kimtimwanat. There are 2 ways for travelers to go from the baggage drop to the boarding gate without passport checks and boarding passes. The first way, people with biometric-enabled passports can allow the system gain access to their identification information when they check in at the counter via a boarding pass machine or self-check-in at the airport. Alternatively, passengers checking in online can select the airline they are flying with, select enrollment and scan the barcode on the boarding pass, then insert their passport or ID card and scan the face as the final step. Both methods of registration store the passenger's facial data and travel information. But that's our show today. Thank you for watching. Joke Rogers. See you next time.